Oh yeah, welcome back, guys. Sorry. So today I'm going to share with you basically a clip of last night's stream. You know, that's all it's going to be really. But we done a bit of an interactive stream where all the chat was involved, so you can see what the chat was saying and everything. And we looked at making. We basically done like 3 different Karazhan, so 10-man Karazhan compositions. We started with like what we consider to be optimal. We looked at one that was really ranged heavy. We looked at one that was quite melee heavy, but still had everything in the group, so everything in the raid to be able to handle all the mechanics for each boss. So, i.e., you've got decurses, you've got interrupts for Aran. You know, we took every boss into consideration. Now, if you're not familiar with the bosses, this will be a really good video as well, because I do go over pretty much everything that you need for each boss throughout the entire raid, and then actually pair it to our composition. That might not make too much sense at the moment, but rest assured it will. So make sure to hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and let's have a look at what happened last night. I think the best way to do this for now is putting placeholders in. So what I mean by that, it doesn't matter what they are. You know, we're not looking at specs yet. We're just saying, look, we're going to have 2 tanks and we're going to have 2 healers. Oh, a Warlock can't heal. So we'll have 2 tanks and 2 healers, and then we'll leave the DPS open. So first, and I want as much input from you guys as possible, what would we say, and then I'll give some reasoning why. We'll focus on the tank spots first. What would be the 2 most optimal tanks to go? So we've had Pally and Druid, Warrior and Druid, Druid, Warrior. So we've had, out of all of those, people are definitely saying Druid. And so let's get rid of one of those for now. Actually, we'll start with the top one and we'll work our way down. So there's a lot of fights, obviously, in TBC, which only need 1 tank. Actually, there's more that require 1 tank than 2. So Feral, you really want a Feral in the group. I wouldn't run prop Paladin and prop Warrior. Not unless your prop Warrior is some weird Mortal Strike sort of hybrid spec, which can work, by the way, but probably not very early on. So, I mean, so Sherlock's saying Warrior and Druid early on. To me, personally, I would still prefer a Paladin in there. And I would always put a Paladin in there instead of a Warrior. But look, let's not focus on that too much. We'll leave that second space out for now. And let's think about the fights. Like, build the group around the fights. Not, let's not focus on what does the most damage or, what is the best healer. Think about what we need throughout all the fights. So, this is how I built the group on a video ages ago. And as I say, it's probably not going to differ a great deal from this. So, Ataman. Do we need anything for Ataman? We've got 2 tanks. We haven't specified the second tank yet. But do we need anything specific to kill Ataman? Because obviously he does a curse. So would maybe be nice to have a decurse. But do we really need it? I've not had a mage in a group when trust me, I've sat and made loads of these 10-man comps thinking about it. But for now, let's put a mage in. And we'll see how we get on, and we'll say it's a fire mage. So we've got a fire mage. Now let's keep moving through. Think about Morrows. So Morrows, we definitely want 2 CCs at a very minimum. Definitely try and keep 2 out of the fight. So now we're looking for either one of our healers as a priest or a shadow priest, or a BM hunter for trap. It's between those. So we either take like a disc priest and a shadow priest, and you've got to remember the disc priest is going to bring IDS. And when I say disc, I mean they're deep holy, but they go IDS spec, obviously. We'll say one of them's we'll put it in as discipline, but we know it's holy. It's going to be deep holy, but with improved divine spirit, because that's now going to buff the fire mage. We're also going to put a shadow priest in, which is going to buff the shadow priest, and we're going to put a BM hunter in, which is also going to buff both of those with 3% damage. So that now you're starting to get a decent pumping group here. The reason I wouldn't go fire mage personally is because if we now go forward a little bit more, so we've down Morrows, we're now going to bloody Maiden. We don't need anything special for Maiden. Opera. Now, Opera, we definitely need a couple of interrupts Or we definitely need, yeah, I'd say 2 interrupts to be safe. 1 would be fine. We definitely want 2, really. And so the 2 interrupts is going to be for Romeo and Juliet. But we also definitely want a Warlock. Yes, exactly. Warlock for fear and fire. Exactly. So we 100% want a Warlock, and we now need 2 interrupts. So we're definitely going to put a Warlock in. So now we're putting a Warlock in here, and we need this Warlock for later as well. Remember, we're going to need the Warlock for of Aran to banish and fear two of the ads. We're going to need it for Illhoof. I actually, when I made this before, put an Affliction lock in for increase for better curses, and just generally they're probably in your first reset, unless you've gone proper sweaty tryhard, you're probably not going to have your full crafted, your Shadow Weave or anything like, your gear's going to be fairly shite when you go in. So Affliction's probably going to be better than Destro earlier on. But we'll put why did I put Protection in? Did I? Yeah. We'll put Destruction in for now. So why I wouldn't have a Fire Mage is because this lock could be benefiting from the vulnerability, you know what I mean, for what Shadow Priests do. And if he's fire, he can benefit from the Fire Mage. So it's... Cheers for the follow, mate. It's sort of... I think it's counterproductive having a Fire Mage there, personally. I mean, what do you think so far? So Hunter in Group 1... Hunter, what do we... Group 1 will not get Bloodlust, so you want 2 tanks and your heals in Group 1. Group 1 will not get a Bloodlust. Well, yeah, not at the moment. We haven't even got a Shaman yet. Affliction will be stronger early tier 4. Exactly. That's why I would lean more towards Affliction, which is all going to be pure shadow damage, and they're going to get buffed by the Shadow Priest. So I would take Warlock as well as Ellie. Yeah, I mean, we ideally want 2 Shamans at this moment in time. Why have the BM and the Feral in the group with the casters? This will be moving around. We can move the Feral. I mean, the BM really is going to benefit from the mana return from the Shadow Priest, and he's going to buff all of them with 3% damage. That's the only reason I've got the BM there at the BM Hunter there at the moment. Shadow Priest doesn't have to be in that group. It doesn't have to be in that group, but if... Well, we'll move it out for now, and we'll see what we get. We'll see what else we get. So, do we want an Ellie Shaman first? I mean, that's why, an Ellie Shaman, let's put that in there for now. So an Ellie Shaman's going to give the 3% hit for the Fire Mage and the Destro. And obviously the crit and spell power and hero, everything. But in no gear early on, they will have mana problems. That's the only reason I would leave the Shadow Priest there for now. Is because, more so than anybody else, the Ellie Shaman will definitely appreciate a Shadow Priest. But if we're rolling 2 healers... which I'm assuming we're probably going to use a Resto Shaman now. So we've got the IDS Priest. Are we saying the Resto Shaman? So we've got double Bloodlust, double sets of totems. Is that going to go in Group 1? I mean, we've only got 2 spots left, and one of those is a tank. How do we feel overall about this so far? So, I'll tell you what. To make it easier, let's fill one of those tank spots straight away. Because that's going to be important. That was my idea, to have 2 Shadow Priests with... have the Shadow Priest with 2 healers. Yeah, Matty, definitely. With 2 healers, it's definitely going to help. But we now need another tank. So, I mean... It's a tough call. Because, yes, Protection Warrior ultimately is probably... Well, not probably. In low levels of gear, is going to be stronger than a prop paladin. And please take it from experience. As in, I've been in Kara with practically no gear on a prop paladin, and it don't feel good. But you have got your feral tank. So there's only going to be certain fights where the prop paladin's not going to be able to do a great deal. And yes, we do need the paladin buffs, exactly. But what I'm thinking is if the prot's in there, odds are, if he's a decent prot, he's been picking up some holy bits, in dungeons for off-spec. He might have even took certain quest rewards. So we are only running 2 healers. So a prot paladin actually banging some healing gear on will still do reasonable numbers. I'm not saying they're going to be beating the other 2 healers, but they'd definitely act as that half a healer that you're going to be short of. So I think, for fights like Maiden, where the Feral's definitely going to be tanking. For fights like Curator, where actually, don't listen to what you hear on YouTube. protection paladins can tank curator perfectly fine. No threat issues. Unless you've got some seriously big pumpers. But we're talking early on where that ain't going to be the case. So there'll be fights where the prot can potentially just chuck on a few bits of healing gear and just help out while the feral tanks. And yes, we need the blessings. Absolutely. So swap BM with Shadow. Right, okay. You'll have to explain why we've just done that. Because to me, so far, the way we're looking, that doesn't make sense. But I'm surprised you're running LE Fire. I would run Enhanced Rogue. Surprised you're running Elemental Fire. Well, the Fire Mage, I think, is going to end up getting replaced, but we'll see. And not winning a Holy Paladin with Disc Priest. You're going to want you're going to want 2 sets of totems. So you're going to want Resto. Resto and IDS will be absolutely fine. Totems benefit Feral, BM in Group 1 and Casters in Group 2. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do that. That works. I mean, I feel like the 3% damage on those 4 at the moment would be higher, but I don't know what this last spot's going to be yet. Any early on blessings, and seriously, I think Salve is going to be quite a big one. You're going to probably... This Protection Paladin will probably... When he's tanking, and I am talking real... You've pretty much... this is your first Karazhan raid. You're probably going to salve the entire group. Maybe Blessing of Wisdom, the healers, but even on fights like Curator, if you're tanking, you'll probably even salve the healers. A second Blessing would be nice. But let's now quickly carry on running through the bosses and see what we really lack and what we might want to move around. So we've got the Opera is covered. Because all we really need on Opera is a Warlock if we happen to get Oz. Curator... doesn't really matter what DPS you've got. It doesn't really matter. As long as you've got some reasonably decent quick burst, which actually, outside of the BM Hunter, this probably does lack a little bit. The Elemental can burst, but not reliable burst. But anyway, we'll pretend Curator will be fine, because that doesn't really require anything massive. Then we're going to go to Aran. So let's say we're doing Aran first because we want to get the portal. Now, we have the Elementals interrupts, which are reliable. We have the Feral who can charge, which is not reliable. We've got a Mage that can counterspell on a 24-second cooldown, not reliable. Destruction Warlock that can use, he's not going to be using his Fell Hunter. Simple as that. So we definitely need another interrupt. Now, remember, this group still is going to change. We're only at Aran at the moment. So this is not... We're not saying, right, the last spot is going to finish the group. But I feel we definitely need another interrupter. What do we need? So Ellie buffs the fire, shadow, and destruction. Yeah, we want the Ellie. We want the Ellie there. We need the Ellie there. Because at the moment, he's the only one who can interrupt. Reliably interrupt. We're going to be setting that elemental shaman on fire. So on Aran, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm talking to you guys like some of you might not know the fights, but Aran basically does arcane missiles, fireball, and frostbolt, and we need to keep 2 of those schools interrupted, and it's always going to be frost and fire. So we need 1 interrupter on frost, 1 on fire. Then we've got the feral as a backup on 1, the fire mage at the moment as a backup on 1. I definitely think we need another interrupter to be safe. I mean, you potentially could not worry about... You could put Resto. You could put the Resto Shaman interrupting one school, the Elemental interrupting the other. But the Resto Shaman's not going to be spell hit capped, obviously. So they could get resists. Now, do you just risk that, and every now and again you get a resist and you get a bit of extra damage? That could work. If we're happy with that, then we can just put another big pumper in there. Or we could stick a boomy in there, get the 5% crit for the casters, or whatever, So it's whether you would be happy, like you're the raid leader, you're making the group, what ideally, you're at Aran now, somebody's just left. This is your group that you've got, and someone's just left on Aran. Who would you ideally want to recruit in trade chat or general chat or whatever? Straight away do you think, no, we need this guy? Rogue arms. I mean, rogue, technically, you could... The prop warrior the prop paladin don't need to be in there, so you could put the prop over there and potentially put a rogue in here, but now this Resto Shaman's going to have to use Wind Fury. I mean, the other way of doing it, No, we need the paladin. We need the paladin. I was thinking, what about if we actually went with a ret combat? We can get like the priest in with the caster group with a shadow priest to get mana. We have a ret paladin for the 3% crit. You've now got a warrior tank with the druid tank. No. Sorry, I hadn't finished. So now you've got the warrior tank instead of the prot tank who has got an interrupt for Aran. So now you have actually got 2 reliable interrupts. You've still got Blessing of Protection to get rid of bleeds, for example, on Morrows. You've still got that blessing that everyone needs. Now everybody's getting 3% more crit as well. Is there anywhere that we think this couldn't work? In TBC, assuming none obtained from crafting kit. Yeah, this is why, Don Vigo, this is why I personally wouldn't have him as Destruction. But this is why I would have the Warlock as Affliction with the Shadow Priest, and I would swap that Fire Mage for something else. That's personally how I would do it. Okay, so if we're saying so Trash would suck without a pally tank. Well, yeah, what I was thinking was, like, let's say the Fire Mage was gone. If we still wanted a prot paladin, we could do something like this. So we've got the prot paladin and the feral still tanking. We've got the elemental interrupting. We could now actually put a rogue in there. Oh, thanks for the follow, mate. We could put a rogue in there. So you got prot warrior. I mean, we could swap these around. It doesn't matter who's where. I mean, I would be inclined, because that's now, I would be inclined to do this. So now the beast mastery is giving those 3 the, oh, actually, but then the disc priest. Yeah, I mean, a decurse is nice, but we don't need it. There's only one boss where we need a decurse, and that's Ataman, and you can just nuke through and not worry about a decurse. I can't think of an. I mean, we're only up to Aran at the moment. Thus far, we don't need a decurse desperately. It would help. Don't get me wrong. Is Resto Shame TBC not the strongest healer lizard, but still decent. So Resto Druid, remove Resto Shaman and put Enhance, remove Mage. So remove Resto Shaman, put Enhance, remove Mage. So we've now got, and you're saying a Resto Druid instead of what? Swap out that rogue for an arms warrior, better in every circumstance, and a shout. Oh yeah, and you can actually do the shout to both parties as well. But, so we've got prop, we've got feral, right? So we're now missing a healer. So swap the rogue out for an arms warrior. We've got enhancement, so they're going to be we're going to have yeah, but now we are a healer down. So what are we chucking out for the other healer? And then we need to skim over the bosses again. Drop the ret. Well, yeah, arms is good, and the only reason I'm thinking ret actually staying is for a second blessing, and the ret and the arms are both going to benefit from the bloody totem twisting for Wind Fury. Is there one of these that could potentially be dropped? I mean, you want... I think we need the Warlock to be Affliction. Because we've got no Fire Mage. Pointless being Destruction. It's probably... We've got to assume that it's not going to have the gear, you know, the hit for Destruction. So Affliction's going to be better in the very first run. So you're going to have Affliction and Shadow. You want those both to stay. Elemental is sick with just low levels of gear. So he's going to be a big pumper. So is the BM. So yeah, I suppose we are really torn now. We've got 2 solid interrupters. Really, I would say, yeah, it's the arms or ret that needs to go. Then drop the ret. And then what would be the healer we want? So we're not bothered about a Resto Shaman because we've got 2 sets of totems. So Resto Druid, and then we've also got Decurse as well. And with the way this setup is, exactly as it is, fire damage. Well, you can still do fire damage. You can still use his fire spells. Holy Paladin, get that blessing. I mean, I would probably... I'd probably be quite happy with a Holy Paladin to have double blessings, because the Druid's not really going to bring a great deal. Where's the water, though? We'll have to summon a mage get the water outside, and then let them portal themselves back to Holy. So, Holy Paladin, so we're going to have the Feral tank can potentially tank the fights where the prot may be needed to, well, not needed, but ain't needed because he takes too much damage, so he can just chuck on a few random bits of healing gear and just help out with the Holy and the Disc Priest. We're going to have IDS, we're going to have Affliction and Shadow, which are obviously complement each other. Elemental, BM, Big Pumpers, both actually buffing this group. The Discipline Priest could probably be swapped with the Holy Paladin, so now they're getting the an aura as well. The Enhancement Shaman's buffing the arms and the Feral, because the Feral's going to be DPSing a lot. Discipline and Protection, they're obviously getting an aura, but that's it. Discipline Priest, alright, whatever. Is that how I would have the group set up? But then you could have the BM benefiting, because he's going to be getting buffed by the Feral and the Enhancement Shaman, who's going to be totem twisting. Switch Prot Paladin, Holy Paladin for spell power buff for the Prot. Yep, that could work. But he's going to be getting spell power now. But if we had it like that, the Holy Paladin, because we're only running 2 healers, both Holy Paladins are going to be benefiting from the Shadow Priest. And I think that will be needed far more than the spell damage from the Prot. I think that might be a fight-by-fight basis, to be fair, where you might swap the Holy and the Prot around as needed. But you've got to remember, the Protection Warrior, I know it's not really a lot of threat, but the Protection Warrior is going to be getting the Wind Fury from the Totem Twisting, the 3% extra damage from the BM, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not massive, but he's going to... I think the Holy Paladin, in practically no gear, your Disc and your Holy are probably going to need to be in the group with that Shadow Priest. So is your Elemental, definitely. I mean, the Affliction Warlock's not really gaining a great deal from this group at all. Because he don't need to be in the same... Well, I mean, he's getting 3% hit, I suppose, and the spell power from the totem. So, it's decent. I mean, I'd be fairly happy with that as a setup, I think. So, Ataman, we've got no decurse, so it's going to be a slightly longer fight. Doesn't really matter. Just when you've got the curse, if you're a mana user, I wouldn't even waste mana. It's as simple as that. You could, if the Feral isn't tanking, decurse and innovate himself if needs be. But odds are he's not going to be able to decurse everyone, so he should probably just focus the tank. You know, literally maybe not even worrying about doing damage. You know, once the Prot's tanking Ataman when he's on the horse, just have the Feral stand with the casters and everything and just focus decursing the Prot and maybe your Elemental Shaman and BM Hunter. You know, just decurse, or maybe the Shadow Priest as well. You know, maybe just focus on 2 or 3 people every time just to keep the threat from the tank up and the damage from your big pumpers up and your Shadow Priest not missing so they're giving mana back. That could absolutely work, 100%. So, Ataman, not a problem. Morrows, we've got 2 Shackles and a Trap and a Protection Paladin and a Holy Paladin for fearing. I mean, that's fucking ridiculous. That's broken. With a group like this, Morrows will just fall over like a piece of piss. Because you can literally... The BM keeping the Trap up is probably a little bit risky. You're going to want to kill the trapped mob. And when I say risky, it's because hunters... Sorry, hunters, but you do tend to fuck things up. Yeah, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. But you'll get carried away trying to big dick DPS. You'll forget to set your trap back down because you can't. It's not as simple as putting your trap down and then re-trapping it on Morrows with the ads because of the cooldown on trap. You'll have to like kite it from one end of the room to the other, then put your trap down. It's not as simple as just re-trapping on cooldown, is it? So I would say you'll kill 2 ads. You almost have to start with your core people we plan and go from there. Yeah, Anthony, I mean, there's loads of ways to skin a cat. This was more just to look at, you know, what would be, we think, balanced, but also optimal. You know, by balanced, I mean, we've took 2 melee here. You know, I bet you if you watch anybody else do this sort of video, because I am going to put this on YouTube tomorrow, and I bet if you watch anybody else do this video, there'll be no melee. Or if there's melee, there'll be 1 maximum. And we've been quite nice. We've got 2 in here, so that's fairly balanced from, you know, range versus melee perspective, nearly. So, Morrows we're perfect on. Maiden, you're probably gonna have your Feral tank it and you're going to have your protection paladin stand outside. So you're not going to have your protection paladin tank it. You can, don't get me wrong. I had no threat issues as a prot paladin tanking it with no gear. I had a lot of issues when it comes to getting fucking smashed in the face really, really hard. That was the main problem. So, but here, it would be nice to have that extra dispeller stood outside to dispel the holy fire when it goes out on people, and having the feral who can take those big smacks just stood in the middle and not worrying about that silence. So that's absolutely fine. The reason you're not going to have them both in as well is because of the bloody chain nova that it does. So that your enhancement and your arms can both stand like max melee range on like one on each leg, which is fine. So Maiden, all good. Opera. Romeo and Juliet, we've got arms to interrupt, enhancement to interrupt, feral that can interrupt, elemental that, I mean, interrupts in this group are amazing. What's the other one? Big Bad Wolf, doesn't matter. You could go with whatever, doesn't matter. And then for Oz, we've got a Warlock to fear and use fire spells. But we've also got a couple of shamans. You can put a totem down, fire nova totem, or fire bloody elemental totem, whatever. We've actually got a bit more than just the Warlock, but still comfortable just for one Warlock. He's not going to like it because he's affliction. He's not going to be wanting to cast bloody fire spells, but it's unfortunate. That's going to be his role in that fight. Curator, we've got enhancement, arms, and BM, which will just blow the ads up. Literally, the sparks, they will get blown up. The Shadow and Affliction are going to feel like they're doing nothing on that fight outside of Eva Kate. Because between the Elemental as well, we'll even mention the Ellie. Between the Ellie, BM, even the Feral, if you had the Prot tank it, that would be my preference. I would have the Protection Warrior tanking it, even though they apparently have threat issues. I don't see it personally. I would have the Prot tanking it and the Feral DPS in, then the ads are going to be less of an issue. If your healers are having an issue, then you might want to have the Feral tanking it and have your Prot, just chuck a few bits of healing gear on and just help out. Aran will be where we go next. All we need from Aran is one Warlock and 2 interrupts minimum, but we've got shitloads. So you could literally assign a rotation. I mean, with this, you could actually probably have the Warrior interrupting fire, enhancement interrupting frost. You could then have Elemental as a backup on fire, have your Feral as a backup on frost, or you could just interrupt absolutely everything just for less damage and solo heal it. And I know that sounds a little bit bonkers, but trust me, if you've got enough interrupts to interrupt every spell, you can. I've solo healed this as a priest with ease, absolute ease. 1 healer, 9 DPS, as long as you've got enough interrupts. So we've got our portal at Aram. We're going back to Ilhoof. Ilhoof, we've got perfect setup. Protection, Paladin, tanking the boss. Feral tanking the big imp. When the big imp's dead, it's nuking the boss. And we've got a Warlock to just spam Seed of Corruption. So adds the small imps are not going to be a problem. Then the difficult boss. Chess. Which, this is probably where the comp will be challenged slightly. I think we'll probably struggle because we shouldn't have took that BM Hunter. But, we're committed now, so you'll have to just work your way through chess and hope for the best. Prince. No mage for chess, exactly. So, chess. Sorry, not chess, Prince. It's up to you. I mean, I personally, if your Protection Paladin did have, if he was uncrushable, I would have him tank, obviously, but odds are in your first reset he might not be. So then you're going to have your Feral tank, and your protection at this point is actually completely wasted. To the point where if you've got someone on you've got someone on the bench or a social or anything, just like anyone, the Prot Warrior don't mind missing out on the boss. You can just get anyone in just for that one boss. You know what I mean? They're not bothered about loot either. It's going to be an exceptional circumstance, but on this boss, the protection is completely wasted. That's why, ideally, you're going to want the Prot Paladin tanking it, if they're up to it, so the Feral can just go full nuke. And then it will just make the fight shorter. But the composition overall, absolutely fine. There's no worries with this whatsoever. This healing setup was our old healing setup. We used to have Shesku, or Steve, as the Holy Paladin, and I was the IDS Priest. And we used to two-heal everything, and no word of a lie, we would most of the time end up on like 60-70% mana, like on everything. Because it is actually a good healing comp, and it probably don't look like it on paper, but it's decent. Never Spite, doesn't matter. Again, Never Spite is all about execution. Doesn't really matter what you've got. But just for an example, you'll have the prop warrior dancing in and out of the red beam to begin with, and the feral. As long as you're comfortable that you're never going to have to shapeshift, you could even have the feral taking the green. I mean, with this group, yeah, you're probably going to want one of your tanks doing that, and I would probably opt for the feral. So have the prop tanking the red first, feral in the green beam, and then blue, you're going to rotate whatever, doesn't matter. I'd probably go with a BM hunter first so you can MD some threat to the paladin. And then for the next phase, you would then have the feral taking the red, the arms taking the green, because you don't really want your prop paladin having no mana. And then, yeah, another two people will be rotating about in the blue, rinse and repeat. So that would work really well. Resto Druids are good for Kara. Yeah, they're really good. Really good. It is just what, you know, we could drop technically. Yeah, you could drop the Discipline Priest in this group for a Resto Druid. I wouldn't want to, personally. It's just what they bring. It's the difference in what Resto Druids bring. Keep in mind it's the best comp. You can probably... Oh, yeah, exactly, Grugan. Yeah, absolutely. This is like what an ideal balanced comp would look like. You know, and this is just so you've got everything. Because there are certain things you need. When you say you can clear it with everything, I wouldn't personally... Well, yeah, and Dan, remember, I'm going Resto Druid main, and I've not even put a Resto Druid in here. So there's no favoritism on class or anything. You know, I've left my own class out of here because we're currently just making a group that no one's going to need to be changed out, and you're not going to struggle on any boss. Because, trust me, you take that Warlock out, just a Warlock. No, all the other 9 people are exactly the same. You take the Warlock out, it's really going to... there's going to be 2 bosses that are going to all of a sudden ramp up in difficulty by a lot. To the point where I would say you would not kill Ilhoof without that Affliction Warlock. I feel that strongly about it. And I think Aran... I think you'd struggle killing Aran without that Affliction Warlock there. So it's the certain things that you need that you know that do make the fight. So, yeah, you know, but other than that, yeah, the majority of these you could swap with other things. But there's just a few key roles that need to be in the group. But Never Spite, anyway, I've told you what you do with Never Spite. That'll work fine. And then Nightbane, your Protection Paladin really needs to tank it with this group setup. If for some reason he can't, then again, he's just going to have to stand out and just do a bit of off-healing, which isn't ideal. And then obviously, yeah, the Feral would be DPSing. There's not really a lot to talk about Nightbane. He flies up, you spread 5 yards, kill some ads, he comes back down. We've got 2 Fear Wards. You know, keep Fear Wards up, just win, loot. So we've gone through every boss with this comp and established that we've got enough interrupts, we've got enough CC, we've got enough of everything we need. Is there anything that you think could be swapped around either from one group to the other, or you think Stickyard's right? Well, just make it easy and go with 10 rogues. No, we should go with like 2 Resto Shamans. I mean, a proper main build could be like, and I'm not even kidding. This could potentially work. I would go 2 Resto Shamans, so 1 in each group for Hero and Totems. I would then go a Protection Paladin, a Feral Druid, and then I would go... by all means, we could change 1 for an Affliction Lock. I mean, we could even put an Ellie Shaman in there, so we've got 3 Lusts. And that would work even better. Actually, we could then get rid of no, because the Lust is nice. I'd go like that. Yeah, so you've got Improved Curse, exactly. You've got 3 Destruction Warlocks pumping and Ellie Shaman pumping. You've got all 3 of them being buffed by the Shadow Priest. You'd probably really, ideally, want it like that. And then all you'll do is have the Ellie pop Lust, once the Ellie's done, the Affliction Warlock's not really going to benefit from it. So the Ellie's lust is down, then the Resto lust goes up, then the other Resto lust goes up, then you swap the Affliction Warlock back. That, I mean, 3 of them together, because it's even with low levels of crit done, those 3 Destros are all buffing each other with improved Shadow Bolt. The hardest bit is going to be getting fucking hit caps. But seriously, that group could work fine. The only place you're not even going to struggle on what you would do in this situation on like Morrows is see the corruption, all the ads down, just massive heals on the prop paladin, pop a personal cooldown trinket or something like that, and just see the corruption, all the ads down. And I'm not even kidding. That would absolutely work 100%. Not taking 1 hunter. No. Who would need hunters when you've got 3 shamans, 4 warlocks, and a shadow priest? I mean, I'm a bit disgusted at putting the feral there, if I'm honest with you. You know, you could potentially put two prop paladins in there. A viable comp with 4 melee. There isn't one. It's not. It wouldn't be possible because you're going to have a tank and 4 melee. Now you only want a tank and 2 melee max on Maiden, and melee melee have a harder time on fights like Prince because they're having to run out. So there is no viable comp with 4. If we was going to do 4, I would want it something like... Would you count it as 4 if we had the Feral Druid? Because, I mean, the only reason I was going to put a prop warrior there instead is so he benefits from Wind Fury as well. Well, I mean, he's going to DPS more than he's going to tank. You know, that's what we're saying. And then you would have your other group as like... I don't know, you're definitely in this sort of case... Because we're going to lack massively. Oh, but then it's only going to be 3 and 3. It's not going to be any different. So now all you're going to do is you're going to go Destro or Affliction, whatever. Let's say Destro, Elemental, and then I would probably stick a Boomy in. And then I would stick a IDS Priest and a probably Holy Paladin. I'll go something like that. Yeah, it's not that much different, really. But that would be... I mean, if we really had to take 4, like really 4, you could put a Ret in there. In which case you could get rid of the Holy. You could get rid of the Holy and put... Because you've got 2 blessings now. 2 blessings is enough. You could put a Resto Druid in, maybe. I mean, there's a lot you can do. Yeah, or you could get... Yeah, or a Resto Shaman, whatever. There's a lot you could do. It's not really a group I would go with, I'm not going to lie. If I looked at this group set, if I joined this group, if Florino Gamba was like, do you want to join the group? You're the last spot. You're the Discipline Priest. I'd join and go, are you shitting me? But I've not messed about group-wise because I just wouldn't, I really wouldn't want to go like this. And that's the thing. That, you know, your BM hunters, if you were to do it like this, actually, maybe, but you absolutely need a Warlock. You need 1 Warlock in Karazhan. So maybe you just worry... The Warlock's not getting buffed because he's not got a Shadow Priest anyway, so you could go BM, Destro, Feral. The Feral, you're going to want to give them 5% crit, though. I mean, something like that could work. Getting a mage in. You know, if you went Fire Destro Lock and... Or just a really heavy caster group. So, like, let's make that. So you're going to go Ellie, Destruction, then we'll put a Fire Mage in there. Then maybe even stick a Boomy in there. And then let's put a Shadow Priest in there as well for now. And then went Prop Paladin and Feral, because that's going to be my go-to. Let's change it up. No, let's not, because that's going to be my go-to. And then healing-wise, let's get a Resto, because we're going to want a Resto for another Heroism or Lust. We definitely want IDS for this group now. Now we've got 1 spot. The only thing we really lack is an Interrupt, so you could dump anything in there. Like, quite literally anything. We've got a Fire Priest in there. Now you could actually just dump a BM Hunter in there. You've got big damage, even if your If you weren't bothered about the 5% crit, but you wanted the 3% damage, the Shadow Priest can go in the other group to keep the 2 healers' mana up. The BM goes in there, gives them all 3% crit, 3% damage, sorry. I mean, that's probably a solid setup, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, that if I had that group, that'd be cool. Just making multiple different... Well, this is about the third one we've made now. Sort of Karazhan raid comps. Yeah, everything's covered on trash. You've got good AoE, you've got good cleave, you've got no melee, which is nice. That is an absolute solid group. You've got the Ellie interrupt. You are low on interrupts. You're going to have to rely on the Resto and the Feral backing him up on Aran. But other than that, everything's cool. You've got Dispels. You've got a Lock. Yeah, Matty, exactly. Then you have got the Mage counter spell as well. Well, look, guys, if you stayed all the way to the end, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you don't miss us doing these live. Obviously, you can come and join in, tell us what your favourite comp would be. But if you have stayed till the end, let me know in the comments which comp you preferred out of all the ones we put together, and I'll see you on the next one.